All right, guys. So welcome to Creator, Connector, Mover, and Foundation. It's not in the advertising, but basically, if you're a foundational person, you do all of those things. But we will talk more about it. But Creator, Connector, and Mover. And I want to go through the handout first, and then we will go through. Lisa would like to add the word shaker at the end. I like it. So I'm going to go through the handout first. So if you have questions about specifically what I'm talking about in that moment, please unmute or type it into the chat room. If it's something that we're not talking about yet, if you can just wait until the end, just in case I might answer it. But also then we have all the information, so it'll be a little bit easier for me to respond to any other questions. So if you do have one come up during, just jot it down. Because I don't know about you guys, but CRS in my world can't remember shit. seems to be pretty strong these days. So just jot it down, and we will talk about it. I did put just 2 minutes ago or 5 minutes ago. I put the handout in your folder in your account, but you can look at it on the screen with me as I go through it. You don't need to print it off or anything. It was supposed to be just a very basic handout. And then, of course, it asked to be something very different than that. So how does it get any better than that? Let me just bring it up here, and I'll actually give you a link to it if you want to look at it. I'll just put it in the chat here. Postpartum Amy. Now, is that your last name on Facebook, Amy?
No, it's McLeod. I just haven't changed all of my other things yet. Yeah.
Okay. I was like, I just don't, something about that, but okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, let me open this up, and we will start. First, well, and I won't, doesn't even matter. So I will say, just in case anybody's not familiar, the tools and processes and the information about all of this is from Access Consciousness. So if you're not familiar with the clearing statement, that's the right, wrong, good, bad, all 9 POD POC, shorts, boys, and beyonds, or in whatever way you like to say it. It is, you can find more information at theclearingstatement.com. And there's not a ton of information about Creator, Connector, Mover in much of the kind of information that Access has out there, but it's the only place I've ever heard of it, so I'm pretty sure that they, it was created based on different things and discussions and such with Gary years ago, and just has kind of been, added to as we've went along the way. So, all right, I need to share the screen. Okay, so Creator, Connector, Mover, and Foundation. And now I'm going to talk about this from the space of your business. And please know this really can contribute to your entire life and living. These aren't just things to have in your business, these are things to have in your entire life. And just things to even be aware of with that. So just kind of keep that in mind as we're going through it. Now, one of the things that we often, probably just from our upbringing and such, that we do is we have the assumption that something is better than something else. And it's not ever. And specifically with Creator, Connector, Mover, or Foundation, none of those are better. They're all required. It's like if you're baking a cake, you require flour and sugar and oil and eggs and whatever else goes into a cake. It's not like you can have the cake do really well without one of those things. So these really are very valuable, all of them together. And please know these are energies. These are not people. You don't have to leave this call and go hire a bunch of people if you're not ready to hire people. These are energies that you're looking for. So they're not necessarily people, and you can receive them from many different places, as we'll talk about as we go through. So creator. Creators are the dreamers, the visionaries. They're creating the energy of the business. They're always looking at what else is possible. They're usually the ones that have 100 ideas in the first 10 seconds. Really, really valuable for them to be carrying notebooks or phones or something with them to be noting, like jotting those down. Creators are always curious at what they can generate and what they can create next. And they have the capacities to be aware of what's possible in business and in living. So this is a huge capacity. And I think I've noted capacities for each of them because, well, and I should say this for all of them. We often don't value the ones that we are. So if you're a creator, you probably judge that you are aware of what's possible. You probably judge that you have 100 ideas in the first 10 seconds. Because anything that we're not acknowledging, we are going to judge. That's kind of the flip side of it. Until you start acknowledging that's a capacity to be aware of all of the ideas and to have ideas, until you acknowledge that that's a true capacity, you're going to beat yourself with it. So everywhere that you haven't been willing to acknowledge the capacities that you be, in any of them, will you destroy and uncreate all that? Return it to sender with consciousness? Right, wrong, good, bad, online, puck, shorts, boys, and beyonds. And a lot of the way that this reality does business, and so I'm what's called a foundational person, which means I can do all of these pieces. So creator is probably my strongest, or what I have the most fun with. And so when I was not studying access consciousness and I was trying to do business the way that they were telling me, and I mean they in terms of business books or business classes from this reality, they would say focus, choose one thing, be really good at it. And that's where I would really trip myself up, because I can actually be good at a million things, and I'm actually better at those million things when I'm doing those million things than when I try to do one thing. Now, if you are really good at one thing at a time, please don't make that wrong. That is in no way wrong. That's a capacity too. We're different. Each one of us is different. But you want to start looking at where are those places that you've shut down, whatever these are for you. So if creator doesn't read for you, that's fine. You don't even have to pay attention to it. In that sense of like looking at how it relates to you. You can still pay attention, but you don't have to pay attention to how it relates to you, because it won't. And then often, for any of them, we just don't recognize that's a capacity. So if creator reads for you, really start honoring that having 100 ideas in the first 10 seconds is a capacity. Because the people who aren't creators usually are going, whoa, how can you do that? Creators, of course, have new ideas all the time. They love having the vision of what something will look like. For creators, the beginning of an idea and knowing the future possibilities of that idea generates a sense of joy. Like that is what will get creators out of bed. Or, because I like to get out of bed, in my world, it will keep me up late at night. So it's kind of like the opposite. Like, though, that's the energy. Like, that's what we love to play with. It's like, oh my gosh, this idea, and I can do this, and it can look like this, and I could jot this down. And so that really, really lights us up. Now, just some questions if you are a creator, or if you're going to, be playing with other creators that you can share with them. What possibilities am I aware of that I've never been aware of before? Because that's a creative energy. And I don't mean that, I have questions for each one. And I don't mean other energies can't use those questions. Of course they can. But this one will really get a creator starting to acknowledge even the possibilities beyond what they have been acknowledging, what they have been aware of. What can I create that no one else can create? It's a lot of creators. They might have the idea, but they don't take it forward because nobody else has done it. And that's where we want to stop doing that. Like, that's really what the world requires. Or the world requires more people doing what they can do that no one else can do than doing exactly what other people are doing. What else is possible beyond what I've never considered? What choices do I have that no one else has? And what can I contribute? What can I contribute? So it's like this energy of generating, of contributing, and of creating. And as with all of the questions, we never look for answers. We're just asking the question, we're being the space of the question, and the awarenesses will pop the more space that we give it. So a couple of tools for creators. Idea book. Please, creators, have an idea book. What you want to do then is every idea that comes in, write it down, and then ask them to yell at you when they're ready. Or you could set up every week that you sit down with your idea book, or once a day, or whatever it is, doesn't matter. But find a way that you're writing it down and you're actually going back and checking it out. The other, what I would say, exercise for a creator is, let's move this. So Lisa says she uses Google Keep as her creator on her phone. Is that like a Google document? Is that what that is, Lisa? You can unmute, honey.
It's more than that, actually. I can save links, I can save images, I can sketch in there. It's kind of like Evernote, if anybody's ever seen Evernote. Yep. I never grooved with Evernote, but I have a Samsung. So Google Keep, and it plays nicely with my Google Docs and everything else I've Googled in my world.
Nice. Cool. Okay.
Yeah, it comes up as an app on your phone that you can add on, and as a Chrome extension. So mind mapping, the whole 9 yards.
Nice. I love it. I love it. So Trisha, when you're listening to this, can you add this into the kind of at the bottom of the clearing section, just for anybody who wants to go back to it, just when she does the clearings? Cool. Thank you, Lisa. So then what else is possible energy exercise is great for creators, and for anybody, of course, but for creators. And you just really, if you've ever meditated, it's kind of similar to that, where you would just totally be by yourself with no phone, no computer. Maybe you're in the shower, the bath, whatever, you're driving, whatever, and you're just in the space of like, what else is possible for the business that I've never even considered? What else is possible with the business that I've never even considered? And you just keep being that. So again, we're not looking for an answer. We're not waiting for this big boom to come down from above. We're just being that energy. And it might not come in for 3 days. It might come in 30 seconds later. You just want to be in the space of what else is possible, because that's what's natural to creators, is truly what else is possible. And again, a lot of us, depending on our training, what we've done, how we've been building our business, we haven't been operating from the natural, what else is possible. We've been operating from this reality's idea of conclusion. Well, I have a business and it looks like this, and I teach classes, so I have to have this, and I need to do this, and all of that. So all of the decisions, judgments, conclusions, computations, projections, rejections, separations, refined judgments, anything that I haven't mentioned that you have about what it has to be like for business, the way you have to create your business, and what you need to create in the business. Will you destroy and uncreate it all? Return to sender with consciousness. Right, wrong, good, bad, online, POC, shorts, boys, and beyonds. Now, things to be aware of with creators. If they're not adding the other energies, if creator energy is the only energy that they will, and they're not adding other energies, what will occur is that their ideas won't come to fruition the way that they know is possible, and then they will go into a spiral of judgment of themselves. So a lot of people who are, say, creators is the energy that they be, are really good at starting businesses, but then the business, they'll kill the business somehow. It'll either just will totally flop, or they won't return phone calls, or like they'll find a way to kill it, because those other pieces that are required for the business to flow aren't there. And then so if you've ever yourself or ever known anybody who has killed a business, it's a really nasty place of self-judgment if that's, if that's what they're choosing. Of course, a person could always choose something different, but if it's just from their unwillingness to add those other energies or even know that that's what's required, that's when it becomes a problem. So really watch for that. If you're going to create a team and you're going to have creators on there, you want to make sure that you're not asking the creator to do anything but create. And so, for example, I was with a gal, another certified facilitator last year, and I was actually hosting her. And so I worked a lot with her team, which was one gal. And so a little bit later when I was talking to the gal I was hosting, she was like, oh, that team, she won't do this and she won't do this and she won't do this. And she was just frustrated with it. And I, having had worked quite closely with that gal a few times, I said to my friend, I said, but those aren't her capacities. You're asking her to do something that's not even, it doesn't even register in her world. And my friend, even though she knows these tools, she hadn't ever really looked at it. She kind of was looking at kind of how can I hire one person to do everything? You may not be able to, depending on the person, depending on what you're asking them to do. So you want to be really aware of that. Creators are creators. So some of you might have seen I put out this morning, I'm adding some people to my team, and I have that specifically as a role, as a creative genius. I didn't ask them to send out emails. I'm not going to ask them to set up chairs for classes. A creator is a creator. They will come up with the brilliant ideas, and now maybe they'll have some of the other energies and they'll apply for those other positions that are in there. But don't ask a creator to do anything but create, and you will have great success with them. The other thing is that, and I know this one well, creators tend to assume that their ideas are to be created right now, and by them. It has to be done right now and yesterday, and they're the only ones to do them. And it's actually not, and it could be, don't mean that, but we want to be asking. So truth, is this creation for me and someone else, or just for someone else? So I finally got in the habit of actually just, I would maybe have this brilliant idea and then ask those questions in a where it's not for me. And I'd say, okay, well, who do you want me to share you with? And I would have somebody pop. So I would message them and say, hey, this idea floated in. I know it's not for me. Maybe it's for you. So I don't say to them, I got that it's for you, because that could stick somebody. Because somebody could say, oh my gosh, well, Glenise said, or Lisa said, or somebody said. It's like, no. Maybe you'd have fun with this. So be willing to share them, because, oh boy, let me tell you, when you try to create a creation that's not yours, it's not fun. And then you put yourself back into the judgment. Also, if you try to create a creation that's not for right now, so many of us are creating in the future. And it's not wrong to create in the future. It's just really sets you up to judge you. In fact, I just was talking with a friend yesterday, because those positions that I just posted, all of that work, all of the wording, all of that was done 8 months ago. But I was in the future. It wasn't for then. So then when I didn't take it any further except keep it in that Google Doc, I judged me for a while. Oh my God, what's wrong with me? I won't blah, 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 blah. It's like, no, actually I was just, and cool that yesterday it was a lot quicker. That work was already done, but still really being aware and willing to ask those questions, which is why an idea book is brilliant, because then you can just throw it in there. And when it's ready to have more information, when you're ready to play with it, that's when you can take the time to ask these questions. Any questions about creators, guys? You can unmute if you are able to, if you have any.
I love this topic, because I'm such a creator, and each time I have an idea for another one. Actually, I judge me, because I say, what will I do with that? And now I realize that I can just say, hey, I have this idea. Maybe it's for you. Okay?
Yes.
So yes, and today when I've seen your post because you want to hire some people in your team, I say, oh my God, this morning for me, I said that, wow, where can I put all the idea I have every day? And I've seen your post, I say, wow, amazing. So maybe you will receive my Google Doc, you know?
That's awesome. Oh, so cool. Yes.
Yes, thank you.
You are welcome. You are so welcome. Awesome. All right, so let's talk about connectors. Now, connectors. Connectors are phenomenal communicators. People love to listen to connectors, and people love to share with connectors. A lot of these social media influencers are actually connectors, because what's natural for a connector is that if they love something, they will share it in a way that everybody wants a part of it. And I have a friend, and his, I met his wife first, and then he came into the picture and all that. And we've always, my whole family knows them, and we've always joked he could sell the pubic hair off a gopher. And that is a connector of magnitude. Which a gopher, for anybody who isn't familiar, it's kind of like a rat, kind of, I don't know, rodent type of thing. But seriously, he could sell you, and you might say you wouldn't buy it, but I could guarantee you would buy 10 of the pubic hairs before the conversation was over. He's just that good. And it's natural for him. And he has created a business where he drives around Saskatchewan, I think a little bit in Alberta and Ontario, and he basically is a door-to-door salesman, except he goes to businesses and such. And that's what he's done. He's done it for all the years I've known them, which is 30. It's an amazing what he has created by being a connector. Nowadays, it's a little bit easier if you're a connector like him, because you could get a YouTube channel. People are sending you stuff to talk about. Connectors love to share. Now, when I first started studying Access and got this information, I was like, well, the connector is the lead. I am not a connector. I knew that because I don't necessarily love to talk to people the way that I took connecting. I love talking with some people. I love connecting. I love engaging with some people. And I don't talk to random strangers for the most part. I don't get onto an airplane and am excited to who I can talk with. I'm more excited about what audio I can listen to. So connecting a connector, I was like, no, I'm not a connector. And then in 2013, I was asked to host Gary for back then it was a level 2 and 3 choice of possibilities now in Edmonton. And I assumed they asked me because I was doing a lot of foundation classes and stuff like that. And then at the class, one of the gals who was a main member of their team, she asked me if I would host her. And I looked at her funny and I said, but you realize I'm not a connector, right? Because I think she even said that. I'm looking for connectors. Would you join the team? And I was like, but I'm not a connector. You know that, right? And she just burst out laughing. And she was like, oh, so you haven't acknowledged that you are a connector. And I was like, but I'm not. I was actually fighting with her at this point. I'm like, I am not a connector. I don't love talking to everybody, all of that. And she's like, yeah. And she says, and when you get excited about something, do other people get excited about it? Yeah, I'm a total connector. It's just different than the way that I had decided a connector was. So I have connected a lot of people to Access Consciousness because I love it. The thing that I am not able to do or not interested, I probably could if I really chose it, but I'm not interested, is that I wouldn't choose to connect people to something that doesn't light me up. So if Huggies wanted me to, start sharing, stuff about diapers, probably, there would probably be a thud in the energy of it for me. because it's just, I don't have that same excitement about it. I don't know enough about it. And I'm not really interested in learning about diapers. So it's that sort of a thing. And that's where a lot of us connectors are. It's such a natural ability that we can't really force ourselves to connect in a way that doesn't light us up. So you want to be aware of that. If you get a read that you are a connector, if that makes sense to you, the way that I am describing it this way. Now, there's also a lot of connectors who really will talk to anybody, who will get into an elevator and be handing out their business card a minute later. Like there's that connector also, but it's different. There's different types and energies for connectors. And their capacities are knowing who to talk to, when to talk to them, and what to say. Now, I would say for most connectors, they're not aware of that. They might even say, well, it just kind of happened. I ended up talking to this person and they gave me 4 connections for this, or now they're all coming to the class. Natural salespeople, they're great on the phone. So those are connectors. Questions for connectors: who or what can I add to my life that would be a fun and generative contribution? And who can I talk to today to create more right away? Tools for connectors. So the thing with connectors is some people might read that energy as being pushy. So if somebody, let's say you're selling a product, or maybe you're even inviting people to a class. So you're super excited about it, and you phoned up your friend and you're like, oh my gosh, we've got this cool class coming up. Do you want to come? And then all of a sudden it gets funky, because what happens is a lot of times if people feel like they're being sold to, they'll put up a barrier. So this is where a lot of connectors can go into the wrongness of them, because they can perceive that funk and then they decide it's theirs. So running the crazy phrase can contribute to that so much. Everything's the opposite of what it appears to be. Nothing is the opposite of what it appears to be. So just doing that in your head when you're in that funky energy, please don't do it out loud. And then going into the space of what is this? Like truly just curious of, okay, what's the funky energy? And you might be aware it's theirs. You might be aware it's barriers, something like that. And then asking every day, universe, show me the capacities that I have. It actually should be that I be with connecting. I'm going to change that right now. Because we be the energy. We don't have the energy, we be it. And then things to be aware of with connectors. So most connectors are not aware they're connectors. They have probably been judged as being too talkative, and they don't, again, like probably the other energies, they don't acknowledge their capacities. So they're really busy judging themselves for being talkative, for talking too much, for sharing too much. They've maybe had some situations where they were sharing because they were excited and somebody made them wrong for it. So the more that they can get into the space of the question, universe, show me the capacities that I be with this, the more that you're aware of those capacities, then the more that you can actually be them and acknowledge them. Affiliate programs can be wonderful for connectors, because a lot of connectors aren't people, I don't want to say that they're not, but a lot of connectors are more of a natural connector for you in your business, because maybe they've come and they've had a session, or they've come and they've taken a class. So now they're going out and they want to share it with the world. And so sometimes affiliate programs can be a great way, because the connector is happy with their life and their business or their job or whatever they're doing. They're not looking to add anything that way, but they're just naturally doing it. But the other thing with connectors is that you often connect, I shouldn't say often, sometimes connectors have no interest in being paid. And the minute you offer to pay them is the minute that they stop connecting for you. So you want to be aware of that too. Now, why would that happen? Because they're not acknowledging their connectors. So they're just out having fun. They want to share you with the world. And you want to be in your awareness of, are they asking for anything else? Would it contribute to offer them anything else? Or What works for you? And are you willing to receive somebody just sharing your awesomeness around the world? You know, because sometimes too, as business owners, we go to, oh my gosh, I have to pay them. So you really want to look at what works for you. And for many of the ones who have no desire to be paid, acknowledging them is what actually creates more. So phoning them up saying, thank you. Wow, I've seen that you've shared 15 of my last posts on Facebook. I just can't thank you enough. You know what? I'd love to take you for dinner or something. Like what, you know, find out, get a sense from them of what would create more for them. They may not want the phone call. You'll just follow your awareness with that, but don't assume that every connector would like to be paid, because it's not true. Also, please don't assume that every connector doesn't desire to be paid, because that's probably not true either. You really want to find the way that works for you. Yeah. Okay, so Rinku. Rinku, I'm not sure if I'm saying that correctly. Let's come to that question at the end once I went through the handout, okay? Because I think there might be a few more things with that piece. So I will get you to unmute when we're done with the handout. Yes, Amy. So she says, I'm good at being a connector with others' businesses and not my own. Okay, and actually let's do that also, because that'll probably read for other energies too for other people. So we'll come to that at the end also, because that is a big one. Any other questions with regards to connectors, guys? Okay, so let's talk about movers. So a mover is somebody who is aware of the future and perceive what's required to create it. They are energetic, ambitious, and know how to run a business. A mover will always look at the possibilities and ask a question like, what's going to be required next? Their capacities are the awareness of what's required and to make sure that it's there. This creates a sense of ease for your business and projects. Whatever project that they're working on, you can rest assured that they will know exactly what's required in every step of the process, and they will have everything in place way ahead of time. Now, I want to actually jump down to things to be aware of with movers before I talk about the other things, because this one is, from my experience and my awareness, many movers would excel to have people do the things for them. So many movers naturally go into the positions of doing, but that's actually, you're not utilizing them to their best. You know, whereas if you have, there's a lot of people who start a business and they start maybe doing admin. So they start creating web pages or sales pages, and they start answering emails, and they're doing all of those things, which is cool. But they excel at knowing what's required to be done. But if let's say they have 4 hours of work that day, if they're taking 4 hours of that work and they're putting it all into putting the chairs out and getting the flyers printed and phoning Staples to make sure that they know how to print the flyers, you're actually taking away from what they would know what to do, where they could say, okay, here's your list, you know, Tammy, here's your list, John, here's your list, Tim, go. That's how they're going to be so much more better utilized. The other thing with movers I find, again in my experience, is that they get bored of the doing really quick, so then they usually stop those jobs. Even though they're brilliant movers, they just can't stand the doing tasks, so they think that that's the only thing. Because often it's like having an assistant for an assistant. So how many businesses are open to paying for an assistant for an assistant? Not many. They're going to go, no, you should be the one doing it. But it's like, no, movers are it's a much more effective use of their capacities and their time to have people to tell what to do. And there will be people who would love to do those tasks that couldn't be a mover. A mover is, to me, a mover is The creator's getting the idea, the connector's bringing people in, and the mover is the one who knows what's required. So without movers, and without movers actually utilizing their capacities to their fullest, this is where you will run into problems. So if you have a business and maybe you have a mover, you know, maybe you're looking at that going, wow, because I had a mover a few years ago. And she was also the doer. And I mean, I just wasn't as aware of all of this as I was back then, as I am now. And when I look at it now, and I just think, man, if we would have just added one person for her to be able to, you know, to give those pieces to, that'd have been a game changer. And how does it get any better? And now I know. But just to keep that in mind, guys, movers are often doing, and that's not going to create the greatest. Not all the time, but often. So questions for movers: what generative and creative energies are required here for this to come to fruition? And what am I aware of with blank? So whatever project, what am I aware of? Movers are aware of everything. They don't necessarily always acknowledge what they're aware of, but they are aware of it. And then the tools for movers: note the awarenesses as they pop. Those little feather touches, find a way, maybe this Google thing that Google Keep that Lisa shared, maybe a note on your phone, maybe a paper, whatever it is, jot those awarenesses down and review them daily. Because they will, the more that you do that, the more that you will become aware of those feather touches of awareness. Now, of course, as a mover, things won't always go as they've decided they should go. So my favorite question in those cases is, if I didn't have a point of view here, what magic could I be? Because then it can start opening up to whatever's beyond what you decided. Yeah. So Carrie says, if I'm a mover in one business and not in another, is that just it? Or am I being a dumbass playing with corn? Oh, I think I just heard the answer, forehead slap. Okay, cool. Did you have the awareness, Carrie? I mean, it probably is very much of what I was saying in terms of the mover. You probably are a mover in all of the business, well, both businesses, but probably need or time to add somebody to do the steps.
Yeah, too much doing.
Too much doing, yes.
That's not always fun for me.
No, and it's not the best use of your time.
No. And what else is possible?
Yes.
Thank you so much.
You are welcome. All right, so the foundational people, which means you have all of these energies. So this is what I am. I am a foundational person, which means I can connect, I can move, and I can create. But I want to hop down again to the things to be aware of, because this is an important piece. And I did a post about this the other day on Facebook. Just because you can do it all does not mean you should do it all. And this is what I would say has been the biggest thing for me to change in the business, is the willingness to say, yes, I can write that email sequence. Yes, I can create a sales page. I mean, literally, there's only one program that I don't know how to use in my business. And it's only because it's been in the last, I think, year that we added it. And that in the last year, a little bit, maybe more, that I've been letting go of little bits and pieces of control. And I'm not wrong to know how to do everything in my business. It's not wrong, because I've seen people who can't do anything in their business, and that doesn't look like fun to me either. But also, you know, if you are a foundational person, truly start looking at what's going to create the greatest. They create great, like, CEOs, foundational people, because it's like the huge overview. Questions: who can do this better than I can? As a foundational person, start asking, who can do this better than I can? Because there's always going to be somebody. And who else could contribute to generate what's required? Because when I'm doing it all, when I'm, you know, figuring out, I don't know, let's say I'm creating a sales page or something like that. It's not creating the grace. It's much like doing all of the action steps as a mover. My time and the energy and what my capacities are and what my brilliance is and what my genius is and what I love to do is not actually creating. I'm not utilizing any of that. I'm just basically what I would say I'm doing when I'm doing those pieces, depending, let's say there's nobody else to do it and it's just required to get done, fine, I'll do it. But a lot of times, especially in the past, I was doing it as a way to distract myself. And a lot of that was to slow myself down. Because honestly, what I could create in business, what probably all of us could create in business, if we allowed ourselves to receive from all of these energies, is 1 billion times bigger than what we have been willing. So it becomes this space of like, wow, I could be doing so much more. And when we're willing, not necessarily doing, I could be receiving so much more. That's a better way to put it. If we're willing, that's when it can shift. But often we'll distract ourselves, we'll pretend, we'll say we don't, or we'll do the thing of, well, it's just quicker for me. It would take me 20 minutes to explain to, the staff how to do it, or it would take me 3 minutes. I'll just do it myself. Like, no. So everywhere you've decided you would do it yourself, it's easier to do it yourself. We just destroy and uncreate all that. Right, wrong, good, bad, all 9 POD, shorts, boys, and beyonds. Tools for foundational people, and I would say this one is if you're foundational, this is key. Keep a notebook and jot down what you do throughout the day. Now, I don't mean you have to jot down everything, because but like sales page, one thing, email sequence, another thing. Like, you don't have to keep anything specific on it, but jot it down. And then, did you love it? Because if you didn't, please, please, please have that down so that you can look at that. And you might not look at it for a year. You might be like me. You might wait and wait and wait. And then it's finally time to say, yes, let's do this. So, but at least have your awareness of it, because that will help you too, because you're not wrong. Let's say you love, and I do love creating sales pages. My problem is that it takes me a long time to do it because I like things really, really in a certain way. And then will keep changing it until I get that. So it could probably take me 10 times as long as the gal who does most of my sales pages. So that is very good information. So I'm not wrong to love them, but I really want to look at what is going to create more. And sometimes it is that sales page. Sometimes it isn't. It really just depends what it is. And please know, my gal who usually does them, she's freaking brilliant at sales pages too, and way quicker than I am. And then when I do them, there's just things, and this font isn't quite right. So I have to go, oh my gosh, it's crazy. It's crazy. But it's also a great distraction. So we want to look at that. So that's one thing. And then dropping barriers to receive continuously. As a foundational person, to allow yourself to have other energies, again, doesn't have to be people, but other energies contributing to creating whatever's asking to be created, that's an increase in your receiving. So barriers down, barriers down, barriers down, all levels, layers, lifetimes, universes, realities, barriers down, barriers down, barriers down. Yeah, absolutely. So Tanya says, I can spend so long on things unnecessarily. Absolutely. Because I'm so particular, and I would benefit so much from letting others take care of those things. Absolutely. And it's once you really start to pay attention to that. And I would say for myself, again, kind of when I started my business, I didn't have near as much on the go, obviously. And so I was able to reason and justify me taking 5 hours to write a newsletter. Because I had 10 hours, I might as well spend 5 of them doing that. But it doesn't actually create greater. So it's like looking at that and going, okay, so what piece do I love here? Maybe there is a piece, maybe creating the video or creating the font or whatever. Like, look at what you love, and then, okay, so who can do this better than I can? And the thing is, we don't have to hire staff. You can, doesn't matter, whatever you would like, but sometimes it's one person to do one task one time. Sometimes it's one person to do the task all the time. I mean, that's how I started with the gal who does the most kind of in my business right now. It's like, That's how I started with her. It was like, okay, you can do the graphics. Oh, well, you seem to be really good at that. Okay, well, would you like to do this? Okay, and just kind of piecing it out. That's what worked for me. If I would have handed over to her what she's doing now in one swoop, I probably would have fainted. And now I'm like, okay, how much more, which is then why it's time to bring in other people also. So it's like looking at that. So Tanya, or any of you that reads for, when you're doing it, just check in. You know, what am I distracting myself from here? What could I be creating? And truly, who can do this better than I can? And maybe it's, you know, in some cases, it might be, okay, you know, you say to your friend, hey, I know that you're really great at writing copy. Could I run your bars for you to write copy? I'm not a huge fan of bartering, and sometimes it's required. Sometimes it's actually what's going to create more. Sometimes they're not interested in being paid for it because they don't know the value of it. So maybe they're getting their bars run would create more, or something else, or you look after their kids for an evening, or whatever it is. And the only reason I'm not a fan of bartering is because often it's not equal. So I used to barter with a gal, and she did massage, and she charged $60 for massage, and she would have a session with me, which at that time I was charging $250. So we would do it equally. I would get an hour massage from her, and she would get an hour session from me. Well, if we were paying, it's not equal. So you want to look at that too. That's the reason I'm not a huge fan of bartering. And so then, you know, people have asked along the way. And so then that can also be, you can say, hey, sure, I would love to do that. So what would you normally charge? And here's what I would charge. And then maybe somebody pays the difference if there's a difference in there. But it doesn't have to be like that. Just check in with you with what works. Yeah. And yes, Jennifer, she just asked if I would ask some questions about finding these people. If you know you're a creator, how do we find these other people? So we'll definitely cover that too. Okay. And sure, Helen, I will come back to that, you betcha. Meetings with these energies. And this was something that I had seen, actually, Simone, who's the worldwide coordinator of Access, she had posted somewhere. I'd written it down anyway. And she was saying, you know, when you're with these energies, whether they're all people, different people, or you have just you and one other person, or what, like, ask what would create the possibility for more money, more clients, and more revenue streams to show up. So starting meetings off with that would allow the contribution and be willing to listen to the whispers of possibilities to show up. But if you ask that from all of those different energies, you know, the creator is going to have different awarenesses with that. The mover is going to have different awarenesses, and the connector is going to have different awarenesses with that. So when you're asking that of them and of yourself, of course, it creates so much more space with that, and so many more possibilities can show up. And then what energy are you? And you might be more. You might be one. You might be two. You could be the foundational person. And what's more important, what do you love to do? Because just because you can doesn't mean you should. So if you don't love to, like me, if you don't love to just talk to random people, then probably asking for some more connectors for your business would create greater. Or if you don't love to figure out, or maybe both the gal, her name is Trisha, and she, neither her or I love to post classes on the Access site. And we both know that about each other. And so, you know, it just kind of sits until it doesn't. And so it's like, that was one of the things. I actually went through everything that we do. And then I asked her to add anything that I missed. And then I asked her to tell me what she loved doing and what she didn't want to do any more of. And then that's how I kind of got the list of the things that's required to hire for, because there's those things that it's not wrong that we don't like to do it. What's most important is that we acknowledge that we don't like to do it, because otherwise she's going to judge her, or I'm going to judge her, or she's going to judge me, or there's going to be all this crazy instead of, wow, yeah, we don't like that. Yeah. Takes 10 minutes, but man, we will resist it for 2 weeks. because we're cute like that. And it's cool. It's just acknowledging it. So what do you love to do? What gets you out of bed in the morning, or what keeps you up late at night, depending on which is more accurate for you? And then truly, what's the most effective use of your time? I mean, I can spend 20 hours creating a sales page, or I could put on a lot of different classes in 20 hours. So what is the most effective? It doesn't mean I should never create a sales page because it's not effective. It's just I really want to look at that and be aware of that and be present with that. Yeah, so Carrie says, what about if you don't love the tasks, but you love the benefit or the outcome or the consequence necessarily? I would say the same thing, Carrie, as I would be asking, who would love to do this? Because the outcome or the consequence or whatever that thing at the end is, that you're going to love it regardless of who does it. I just actually had 2 gals come in and clean the house. And so hubby does that, and hubby does it to kind of what I would say very basic cleaning. And I'm not willing to do anything more than what he's doing. But I'm also, it doesn't work for me for it not to be maybe a little bit different, like baseboards and stuff like that. I mean, it's clean, but it's not maybe sparkling clean. So we just had 2 gals come in and do the entire house, which is a big job. And so I am loving the outcome. And I'm so grateful that they came in and did that. And I am so grateful to pay them to do that. And they love to do it. So it's like, who could I add to do it? Okay. So I'm going to answer Jennifer's question, and then we'll go back to the other questions, and then any other questions that we have. But Jennifer's is kind of fits what we were just talking about. So she says, would there be a different energy on the sales page with someone else doing it than if I did it myself? Now, there can be. It depends if you're, this would be the way that I do it. If I'm separating from my business or from the business, or if I make the business me, like if I've got the energy that the business is me, even though it's called Glenyce Hughes International Inc., it's got my name in it. But if it's me, then yeah, you could probably perceive a really big difference between who made the page. But when we allow ourselves to be a contribution to the business, and that knowing that the business isn't us, that the business is a separate energy, it's not separate to us, but it's not us. When we allow that, then people can do those tasks without there being a difference in energy. Now, with that said, you also want to be aware of that, because for one of the people that I'm hiring is a writer. So I do require them to actually be able to write the way that I talk or the way that I write, because those emails and whatever they're going to be writing are basically going to be based on what I've said or shared or done a radio show or whatever. So yeah, you also do want to be aware of that too. So there is a bit of a dance on that. You want to make sure that you're not pulling, your energy like you're the business, so nobody else can do it. And you also want to be aware of, does that energy flow? Is there, are they aware of the energy in whatever job they're doing? And it doesn't matter if they are writing the emails or creating the sales page or creating a graphic. Are they willing to be aware of that energy? And are you willing to be the energy that you're asking them to be aware of? Because I've seen people do that too, where they might say to a graphics person, okay, I want this and this and this, and then they energetically pull out of it, and the graphic person might sit there for a week staring at their computer in the wrongness of them, because they can't figure out how to make a very simple graphic. But what's occurred is that person has pulled their energy out, and pulled probably the business's energy out also. So it's a bit of a dance, Jennifer. And let's say I noticed that with something. Let's say it was a sales page. Trisha does a great job. She's able to tap into the energy. but let's say somebody else did a sales page, then I might go in and I might change a couple of the words. I might just be present with it and ask it to expand its energy into the energy of the business. I might do some energy things with it, if that were to be a thing. I don't know if that helps or not, Jennifer. There's a lot with that, but and I guess anywhere that we've decided that we are the business and that it only has our energy if we do it, we destroy and uncreate all that, return it to sender with consciousness. Right, wrong, good, bad, all nine, podpoc, shorts, boys, meons, because again, it's not our energy, it's the business. The business is asking. So we want to be in communion with the business and asking it, yes, staying in the question and being aware. And then you'd probably notice too, you know, like if the sales page doesn't convert the way that you normally have a sales page convert, doesn't mean, of course, it's that. We don't want to assume that, but I would be asking some more questions. The other thing too is that I'm really aware of is that if the people don't like to do what they're doing, so I had a gal a few years ago and I was so aware of what she didn't love to do, but every time I would ask her, she would say she loved it. And it just finally, it was like, okay, this is over. Because what I require is honesty, because I'm aware, I know. So if you're going to tell me that you love to do something and then energetically that doesn't match, I wasn't looking to get rid of her. I was just saying, hey, who do we need to hire? And I think for her, what her problem was, and you know, probably rightfully so, because of where I wasn't willing to receive from lots of different energies was, you know, she would then have to share, I think she was doing maybe 5 or 6 hours a week. So now she'd have to share that. So I think that's where she was coming from with it. And I get it. And so, you know, you want to be aware of that too. If people don't love what they're doing, it will show. You're going to be aware of that. So being willing to have the conversations with them, being willing to ask, and you can be asking questions too. If you've got somebody who's already playing in your business, ask what energy they are. You don't have to ask them, but ask you. Okay, so truth, are they a creator? Truth, are they a connector? Truth, are they a mover? Truth, are they a foundational? Oh, wow, they're a mover. Okay, look at that. And I've been asking them to come up with, you know, 10 ideas a week. Don't do that to a mover. The mover has way more important things to do from a mover energy. Whereas a creator, ask the creator. That's the person you ask for that. And you don't ask a creator to get, you know, the printing from Staples. So you want to be aware of that when you're asking. And that's the cool thing about a lot of the stuff that we do is you don't have to do it from that, you know, whereas maybe 50 years ago you hired one employee, they came in and they did their tasks. It's like, no, you could have 25 different people doing things for you and didn't have to cost you more than $500 a month or $50 a month even, depending on what you're paying. I mean, there's Upwork? I think it's called Upwork.com, where you can go and hire people to do tasks for like $5 an hour, you know, basic admin stuff. So looking at it, like there's so many different ways to be adding these energies to your business that don't have to be, oh, I have to hire a full-time employee. Fiverr, yes, Helen, thank you. Fiverr's the same. So Fiverr, I think it's Fiverr, maybe. And they have, you know, it's brilliant, absolutely brilliant what you can hire as a kind of a one-off task. The other thing that I love about that is that if you love what they do on that one-off task, then you'll have a better sense of if you'd like to be adding them more regularly, whereas you don't have to commit to saying, oh, okay, well, you know, I hired them to do graphics, so I guess they'll do all of them. It's like, no, get them to do one. If you love it, get them to do another one. Like, it's kind of simple that way. Okay, Rinko, no, we did not go to your question. So if you can unmute and ask your question.
Thank you so much. So my question is, you know how the thrill is like, I love sales, I love all of that. And what you were talking initially about the connector and all of that, that energy is there. But after I make the kill, if I may say it, put it that way, like I've gotten that, it almost feels like it's gone. Like suddenly the energy is like I think 150 times lower than it was when I was chasing it.
Yeah.
So sometimes I feel like, am I doing something here that's taking away I don't know what to say. I really don't know, but that's what I feel.
Okay. So then what's your role after you make the kill? What's your job then?
It's my business, so everything is mine.
Ah, okay. Okay.
But then it's like, I don't have so much, I enjoy it. It comes in up highs and lows, but I just feel like, what would it take for me to have that spark all the time?
Yeah. Well, and what would it?
Yep. What would it?
Yeah. And it might be just as simple as asking yourself continuously, what energy, space, and consciousness can me and my body be to be that spark in the business for all eternity? Anything that doesn't allow that, destroy and uncreate it all. Right, wrong, good, bad, online, POD POC, shorts, boys, and beyonds. Now, the other thing though is, so which one reads the most for you? Are you a creator, connector, mover, foundational?
I missed the foundational part of it, but as far as the other three were concerned, I feel like I have bits and pieces of all of them.
Okay, so then that's the foundational. So you're a foundational person. So then you know that the energy of connector really lights you up. You know that is that's where maybe your genius is.
Mm-hmm.
So then it's like, okay, so then where could you be adding the energies of movers and of creators? And doesn't mean you have to hire necessarily other people, but adding those energies and not making yourself wrong when that energy changes. Like when, the way you're describing it, the spark goes away. What if you just acknowledge that that's the energy that just lights you up, and how can you have more of that with continuing the business to move forward?
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah. So everywhere
Yeah, sorry.
That's okay. Everywhere you've judged you for the way you have created, will you destroy and uncreate it all?
Yes, please.
Right, wrong, good, bad, online, POD POC, shorts, boys, and beyonds. Go ahead.
There's another situation where I'll have this burst of idea, and you were saying, like before when we started out, saying that I thought of something rather than saying maybe this is for you. So I'll share my idea and they'll run away with it. And soon it'll be like something flourishing in somebody else's world. So I don't know how that happens, but that bothers me at times. Like, it is my idea. I came up with it. I just shared it with you and you took off on it.
So do you ask before you share it if it's going to create more to share it?
No.
Okay.
Okay.
At least you're cute.
I never thought of that. Okay. Well, that's a good one.
Yeah. And the other thing that you can do with ideas that are for you and really light you up, and maybe it's just not time or you don't have the space right now, is every time you think of them, you actually energetically expand them. Because often what we do when we try to keep something secret is we contract it, which makes it dense, which makes it really easy for people to pick up on. So if you have a really creative idea that people are going to run with, you just, one, don't talk about it, and two, every time you think about it, expand it so it's infinite, so nobody can pick up on it until you're able to create it.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And for any of you have that, and I know Lisa says here she can relate to kind of the theft of ideas, everywhere that you've decided or concluded that somebody could steal your idea or that it was your idea in the first place, we just destroy and uncreate it all, return to sender with consciousness.
Yes, please.
Right, wrong, good, bad, online, POD POC, shorts, boys, and beyonds. And we're not victims. So if we've either, out and out told somebody about it, or we've made it dense so people could pick it up and they ran with it, then you know what? You had the idea came to you, so can more. Cool, okay, thanks, universe. What else could I create? What else would be fun? What would out-create that idea that I didn't take action with? So if we don't go into kind of the blaming or the wrongness of them or us, and just, hey, okay, I'll have some more, please. And I often refer this book, guys, because it's so freaking brilliant. It's by Elizabeth Gilbert, and it is called Big Magic. And she talks a lot in it about basically that, where ideas come and knock at your door, and if you don't, they'll move on. Is like to be co-created with you, but if you don't, then they will move on. They're not saying you're the only person. They will move on to the next person. So if you go like, hey, you know what, right now I can't answer the door, then it'll move on and celebrate, and then ask, hey, I remember having the idea, like what would it take to receive all of what they received by creating that? Yeah, anything that doesn't allow that, right, wrong, good, bad, online, fuck, shorts, boys, mounts. Because there's no limit on what you can receive. If somebody creates, $1 billion out of an app that makes farting noises, why not receive from that? Why not ask to receive even more? Yeah. Cool. Okay. So, Amy, are you able to talk about being good at connectors?
Hello? Yeah. Yeah, so I feel like I'm good at like connecting other people's business and talking up other people's, but then when it comes to my own, it's like I have this feeling of like I'm either selling to you or I'm like pushing it on. Do you know what I mean?
Yep. Yep.
And then oh.
So what is that?
Well, I feel like I'm the foundational person, but my strong one is creator.
Okay.
But I spend so much time trying to figure out everything that I, like you said, doing, that it almost like kills my creations.
Yeah.
And what I want to implement.
So everything that is, we just start and create it all? Right, wrong, good, bad, online, putt, puck, shorts, boys, mounts. So who are you being when killing the business is more valuable than creating it?
Not me.
Yeah, true. So everyone that you're mimicking, will you destroy and uncreate it all? Return to sender with consciousness? Right, wrong, good, bad, online, putt, puck, shorts, boys, and beyonds. And what would happen if you chose to be what would create greater in the business and add all of the energies that are required? What would happen?
I would grow and I'd eventually get to where what I see is right there.
Yeah. So what would happen if you got there? Who would you lose?
I don't know.
Okay. So truth, if your business was everything that it's asking to be, who would you lose? What would you lose? What would change?
My whole world would change and it would be able to expand out.
Yeah.
It feels expansive, but I think it's my own self.
Okay. So if you were that expanded, what would happen?
I would create. And it would just flow.
Yeah. So if you didn't have struggle in business, would you fit in?
If I didn't have struggle in business, would I fit in?
Yeah.
With my own business or with what society thinks?
With friends, family, other people in business?
No.
Yeah. So everywhere it's,
yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
But yeah, no.
Okay. So everywhere it's been more valuable to fit in than to show them what's possible. Will you destroy and uncreate it all?
Yeah.
Right, wrong, good, bad, all nine, putt, puck, shorts, boys, meons. Everywhere you've created business to be exactly what they expected for you. You destroy and uncreate all that. Return it to sender with consciousness. Right, wrong, good, bad, all nine, putt, puck, shorts, boys, and beyonds. And everybody's reality that you're validating by the business you've created. Will you destroy and uncreate it all? Right, wrong, good, bad, all nine, putt, puck, shorts, boys, and beyonds. And everywhere you're not willing to invalidate people's reality by out creating them by a godzillion with total ease and joy and glory. Will you destroy and uncreate all that?
Yeah.
Right, wrong, good, bad, online, POD POC, shorts, boys, and beyonds. And everywhere you're way more aware of other people than what you've acknowledged, will you destroy and uncreate it all?
Yeah.
Right, wrong, good, bad, online, POD POC, shorts, boys, beyonds. Because when you're connecting for you, when you're sharing about something that you have, and you're going to, this feels like I'm sales, I'm pushy, is that actually yours, or are you aware of what's going on in their world?
Maybe that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's, yeah.
And I wonder how many other places just in your everyday life, Amy, you're more aware of what's going on for others than what's actually true for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So everywhere that you haven't really been honest with you of what's true for you, will you destroy and uncreate it all?
Yeah.
Right, wrong, good, bad, online, POD POC, shorts, boys, and beyonds. Hey?
I'm like sweating.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah. So then, and it's not that, if you have that thought when you're talking to somebody, it doesn't mean you have to stop.
Yeah.
It just means you can be aware of, well, that's where they're at. So that becomes information. So you can be like, oh, wow, they're actually thinking that I'm trying to sell them right now. So then you could be like, hey, and don't worry, I'm not trying to sell you anything. I know it wouldn't be fun for you. And then walk away.
Yeah.
Yeah. And start utilizing those awarenesses to your advantage instead of against you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So everything that doesn't allow that, right, wrong, good, bad, online, POD POC, shorts, boys, and beyonds. How's that?
Yeah. Feels much better.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. Leah, I see you say on here that you do the same thing with not being able to connect for your own business. Do you have more to say about that?
No, I think you covered a lot of that. I really aligned with basically everything that Amy said. Like if I get on a sales, like a consult call, I guess, like I always feel like I can read that they're being sold to, and that part that you touched on really spoke to me. So that was great.
Yeah. And everywhere that any of us have resistance to selling, we destroy and uncreate it all. Right, wrong, good, bad, online, POD POC, shorts, boys, beyonds. It is a sales call.
Yeah.
And somehow we've allowed it to be wrong. And really, if that person has signed up for it, they know what it is too. Yeah. So everywhere that you've been trying to make it not that and trying to defend against them buying from you, will you destroy and uncreate it all?
Yes.
Right, wrong, good, bad, online, POD POC, shorts, boys, and beyonds. And also, Leah, just because I see your stuff on Facebook and Instagram and stuff, can you please acknowledge where you have been connecting for you and the capacities that you have been stepping into and choosing?
Yeah, I think that's part of it too, is I'm hitting a new level. So it's very, very uncomfortable for me.
Yes. Yeah. And uncomfortable is the new black.
Yeah.
Or red or pink or purple, whatever you might want it to be. But it really is where it's really where it's natural for us to be, even though we've been taught that we're supposed to want to be comfortable. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
everything has been kind of blowing up in my world, so it's just really scary.
Well, is it scary or is it exciting?
It's exciting.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is. Yeah.
Cool.
So,
cool.
Thank you very much.
You are very welcome. Very welcome. Okay.
I have a question, Denise.
Yes.
I have someone who do my graphics and all that stuff, and I get the energy that my business is requires to have someone to share what I do and to play in different ways, And this week I've talked with someone who said me that she loves playing with social media. And so she will give me next week what she can do for me. But my question is, yes, well, first, actually what I get is, I think I have a lot of expectation about what means hire someone to share my tools, because it's about I pay her and I'm waiting for some things. So I don't know if it's a good thing to wait for that, or if I just have to play with the energy of someone who share my tools. So, and at the same time, I get that, of course, I can't do all alone. And if I have a good connector, it will be great for me and my business.
Okay. So I don't think I'm really clear. You mean like about you're not comfortable paying her, or you have to wait for, what do you have to wait for? I'm not sure what you mean.
I'm not comfortable with the things that I pay, and I'm not sure what I will have. So what question can I ask to have more clarity here?
So you're not comfortable with what she's asking to be paid? Is that what you mean?
It's like I have some resistance to pay.
Oh, just paying in general.
No. To pay and don't know what will show up.
Right. Yeah. So, are you a little bit of a control freak?
Maybe yes.
Yes. Yeah. So a few things with that. One, I would be constantly clearing all of the decisions, judgments, conclusions, computations, projections, rejections, expectations, separations, refined judgments that you have of what she or anyone else should be doing in the business or what it needs to look like. Like, just constantly be clearing that. And then looking at like what is it about paying? Like what is that that's bringing up the resistance? Is it the amount of money? Is it just paying in general? Is it specifically that you don't know what'll show up if you pay? Like what exactly is it right now that comes up?
Yes, I think that it's about, I've already paid a lot of people who say me that I will do that for you, I will do that for you. But now I don't, actually, it's not that I don't receive anything. I've received a lot of things, but not what I've expected.
And that's the thing right there, is you really constantly clear those expectations. Because the minute you expect anything is when you will be disappointed constantly, which is possibly why you're expecting it, so that you can be disappointed, so that you don't pay anybody, so that you keep your business small.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
So everything that is, will you destroy and uncreate it all, return to sender with consciousness? Right, wrong, good, bad, online, putt, puck, shorts, boys, meons. Then you just have to be willing to trust you. Which means if you're asking questions, truth business, will it create the future we desire to hire this person for this amount of money for this task? Will create the future we desire or decay the future, and you get that it'll create it, then cool, hire them, but don't expect that it's going to look like that. Be totally curious as to what's going to show up and be willing to change it. So if you're 3 months in with her and it doesn't look the way that you would like it to, not from expectation, but from what you know is possible, then say, hey, you know what? Thanks so much. We're done here. But if you have the expectation it's going to look a certain way and she's going to bring in a certain amount of money because of what she's doing, it's like those are the things you want to get rid of, because one, it limits what's possible. You know, Gary and Dane often joke about when Dane was hired in Access to make phone calls. That's how he started in Access Consciousness, was to make phone calls. He made one phone call. He did one of what he was hired to do. And to say that, you know, if Gary would have fired him because he didn't do what was expected, I think the world would have lost a lot of possibilities. So if we're willing to follow the energy and it's going to create greater, and we're aware of that, and we don't have an expectation, then what might show up? What could that person contribute? And if we don't tie a dollar amount to it, no, I also don't mean we do crazy things. I mean, I had a gal who worked in my business for, I don't know, it was over a year maybe. And she did a lot of stuff. I use Infusionsoft, which is just kind of a bigger program. And so she did a lot of stuff in there, and her deal and deliver was 10 hours a month, guaranteed at $80 US. So it was $800 US a month to have her. To begin with, that was brilliant because I required her because she was cleaning up a lot of messes. But then as those messes got cleaned up, I didn't actually require, say, like a virtual assistant for $80 US a month at 10 hours. It's just, so I just said, hey, you know what? This isn't required anymore. Would you be willing to come in as I require your expertise? Because she's an expert in Infusionsoft, but I just don't need somebody for 10 hours a month at this point. So it's also being aware of that, like, hey, yeah, actually, no, there's somebody else who can do this task over here so much yummier, and this, and being willing to change it. So I wonder, you know, is it necessarily about the money, or is there an awareness that you're shutting off?
I get that it's about paying.
It is paying.
I have some resistance about paying and don't know what will happen.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So if you have to know what will happen before you pay, it probably is best to do it all yourself. Because you can't, I mean, it's you would have to micromanage that person so much, you might as well do it yourself. So what is it? The significance on money? Is it that you can't create more money? That's the only money that's ever possible? Like what is it about money that is creating this?
I get that I've paid so much people before that now it's like I don't want to pay anymore.
Yeah, but also, have you acknowledged how much you did receive from them? Have you acknowledged that you're willing to be more aware now than you were then? And what if you don't make you wrong for hiring them? So you paid them. What does money mean to you anyway?
Yes, it's that point. What does money mean to me? Yes.
Yeah. So everywhere you're using it as a distraction to stop the business being what it's asking to be, will you destroy and uncreate it all? Right, wrong, good, bad, online, putt, shorts, boys, meows. And again, I'm not saying go out and hire 25 staff. It's just, if you don't make the money piece significant, how much more awareness can you have? How many more questions can you ask? And what else might be possible? And then I would be asking, hey, where are the connectors that would love to do this for just because they love to do it? You don't necessarily have to pay them.
I love your question. Yes.
Yeah, as long as you're not doing it from the resistance of paying, because if you do it from the resistance of paying, they won't show up. If you're doing it just from playfulness, and you're willing to pay, and you're willing to have them not take payment, then it becomes a totally different space of possibilities. Awesome.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, honey. Helen, do you want to unmute about your question with the family member?
Actually, Glenise,
Yes.
most of it you covered, to be honest. In answering all the other questions that have come up, I've had many awarenesses. Really brilliant. Thank you.
Perfect. You are welcome. You are so welcome.
It's such fun. Thank you.
Gosh, you're welcome. You're welcome. I'm loving this. Cool.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, lots of people receiving lots from all of these pieces. That's awesome. That's what I love about doing this as a group. because there's different awarenesses that pop, things that maybe you didn't even know you had a question about that popped up. So there was something else. Oh, I know, Jennifer had asked about asking, so questions to help find these people. So really the first piece that I would say personally would to look at anywhere you're not willing to receive from these energies. And no matter what you are, please also be willing to ask for more of that. You know, that creator, that's the thing that lights me up. Absolutely. And I'd love more, because the way that I create, the ideas that come to me, there's going to be more creators or more possibilities with more creators. So you want to look at adding all of the energies and receiving, but anywhere you're not willing to receive from all of these energies, will you destroy and uncreate all that, return it to sender with consciousness? Right, wrong, good, bad, online, POD, shorts, boys, and beyonds. And then it's like, okay, business, who would you like to contribute to you? Who would you like to play? Can you bring them? And maybe let's say you're going to have a bars class, and maybe you're having a bars class locally, so you don't need a host. Would it be fun to have one? Ask the bars class, would you like to add somebody? And you don't have to do, well, my suggestion when you are hiring people, whether it's a host or anything, and I don't always do it, and sometimes I do, but I say to them, what would you like? So if a bars host says to me, hey, I would like 50% of all of the money that comes in, then I know it's not going to work, because that doesn't work for me. 50% of a bars class to go to the host just doesn't work for me. And that's okay. And now I know that. So I'm not saying to them, hey, you're going to get 10% of this class. And then they're going, oh, okay, but really they're hating it. And suddenly we only have 2 people for the bars class. So you want to be really aware, what are people asking for? Doesn't mean you have to say yes. So that's one of the questions in the positions. I've asked them, what would they like for? What is their hourly rate? I'm not telling them what I'm going to pay. I actually have no clue what I'm going to pay, to be honest. I'm interested to see what people are coming in at. And I don't make my choices based on money. You know, Dr. Dane made a brilliant quote at the foundation. He said, it's not what it costs, it's what it contributes. Now, with that said, if somebody says, hey, I'll be a creator on your team at $4,000 US an hour, quite likely not going to work for me. Who knows? You know, so you want to be aware of that too. But it's like, what is going to contribute? And let them choose, so then you know, because anytime that somebody says yes to something that we say, but they don't really mean yes, it creates, it just doesn't create. Well, it creates, but probably not in the way you'd like it to create. And then, you know, start asking the business, and then what energy, space, and consciousness can me and my body be to actualize all of the creators, connectors, movers, and foundational people that the business is asking for with total ease and joy and glory. Anything that doesn't allow that to show up as if by magic, I destroy and uncreate it all. Right, wrong, good, bad, online, POD, shorts, boys, and beyonds. Cool. Awesome, awesome. Any other questions, guys? Anything that I missed or that that you've had pop up? And I would say, you know, if you have, let's say you have a business and it's, you know, based on access, and so these are tools you might talk about with your staff, I wouldn't ever tell them what they are. I would always stay in question with what, you know, for you, what are their energies? And if they were to ask you, I would direct it back to them. Hey, well, what do you get you are? Like, ask them, because it can really stick people when we say to somebody, oh my gosh, you're such a connector of magnitude. And I mean, I know the one gal, Blossom, you know, she had said to me, you're a connector, but there was also the space to say that, and then the invitation for me to look at it more. So I'm not saying it's always wrong to say it, but sometimes we can really set people up, or we can, you know, put ourselves in that position to just know for you. If they ask you, just ask them some questions so that they can know for them. They know for them already. And then for any of those that may be red for you, but you're like, oh my God, that's horrible, or I'm not that, or any of that, make sure that you're clearing that and that you're asking, universe, show me the capacities that I be with blah, blah, blah. Or any of them that you think you should be, but it doesn't read, clear that crazy too, because honestly, all you're doing is distracting yourself from what your capacities really are. Yeah, awesome. You guys are so welcome. Thank you all for creating this with me. It's just, it's given me a lot more awareness too, in terms of kind of with creating, you know, even the job descriptions and stuff. So thank you. And really, I mean, I wonder what magic we can create now with the businesses and what the businesses are asking to be on this beautiful planet of ours. So awesome. Cool. Thank you. And we'll get everything out to you as soon as possible. I'll get the audio and the video recording out this afternoon when the email comes in. The clearings will take probably a couple of days, but we will keep you posted on that. So awesome. Thanks, guys. And I look forward to playing with you somewhere else soon. Bye. Thank you, Michelle.